Whoa, boy. There's really nothing stopping this guy from getting his fix in, if you know what I mean.
When do we get to the island? When do we get to the island?
That is one persistent man. As, of course, these AI videos are absolutely ridiculous. As right now, we have some new Epstein disclosures today. As, of course, there was just the latest to drop here from videos inside of Epstein Island. We're going to be going over some of the videos that I took on Epstein Island when I was there. As, of course, there's new highlights that people are going to, specifically looking at some of the things that we discovered there that I think are of utmost importance to talk about, since, of course, a lot of people are saying he's probably still around. As some of these photos are creepy. Some of them we saw beforehand, especially through the great, incredible investigative work of James O'Keefe. As now we kind of ask ourselves, what happens next? Well, we're going to be talking about that and a lot more, as well as the kind of big actions that are being done here behind the scenes, especially now with the FBI, that are allegedly spending $1 million and a lot of overtime in order to redact files that they are now told they have to hand over to the general public within the next 2 weeks. What will actually happen here, we're going to look into that, as well as the weird stuff happening with Thomas Massie, who has been on this story, as, of course, his counterpart that has been helping him out here. According to Nick, Fuentes has been forced out of Congress. What in the world's really going on here? We're going to be doing our best to try to make sense of it. And if you appreciate that and all of our efforts and all of the work that we have always done here, subscribe, click the notification button. We greatly appreciate all the time that you spend with us. Now, the House Democratic Oversight Committee just received these, quote, never before seen photos and videos of Jeffrey Epstein's private island. As the oversight Dems write, we got a harrowing look behind Epstein's closed doors. See for yourself. We won't stop fighting until we end the cover-up and deliver the justice for survivors. Well, they were pretty good at covering it up for, a long time, as Democrats and Republicans were covering this story up since the 1990s, when victims started to go to the FBI as children. And the FBI was like, what? We're looking another way. Squirrel! We're distracted. What's going on here? I don't know. Let's look into some of these photos. Of course, some of them have been previously released before. Now, I think this is one of the most, more kind of creepy ones. It's like pictures of old people's faces. Looks like potentially some prominent politicians who look very interesting. Of course, this makes very weird decor. Whether it's the Podestas or a lot of the kind of elites, you look at the art collection, it kind of is indicative of what's kind of inside of their heads. Podesta stuff, like their art, whoa, like my goodness, golly gracious, it is concerning, to say the least here. Now, why a dental chair? There was a dental chair also in Epstein's New York City penthouse, one of the, at the time, largest penthouses in all of New York City. I don't know, but I think that's a question that I think is worth asking here, as there's a lot of mystery, a lot of weird, what in the world are we kind of looking at here? This looks like a huge bath, as, listen, they did some weird stuff on this island, as, of course, there was a number of surveillance cameras. Now, this is a photo of the speed dial for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, James O'Keefe actually did a video breaking down who is what, asking the general public to help him out to find out some of the people who, of course, he wasn't able to locate here. Here is one of the bedrooms. And one thing that we need to understand here, Epstein Island, huge. Like, it's not a small little resort. I spent at least 30 minutes in a very fast pace moving around the island, trying to get as much as I could. There's a doorway in the ground, too, and one at the top of the mountain, so it was so weird. As, of course, the Daily Mail just released this video footage showing from inside of the island. As, of course, it was a huge complex. 30 minutes, and I saw about 55, 60% on the island. As, of course, there was still a lot of other places that I wasn't able to kind of explore or go into. as there were multiple helicopter pads, multiple huge construction vehicles, huge kind of Freemasonic occult symbols in the ground, gargoyle statues everywhere. And overall, the island had a very weird, creepy juju and vibe associated with it that probably was a mix of my adrenaline and fear and panic that I was going through when I was specifically traversing this huge facility that now we're finding out is going to be some sort of resort. Now, Joe Rogan talked about how he was interested at potentially buying the island personally himself here. Now, this is another room showing a blackboard. James O'Keefe released information from the blackboard. There, of course, was major no trespassing property signs. Disney Cruises literally had excursions right outside of Epstein Island to explore turtles. Now, the video I did on the island 6 years ago, for some reason, is getting a lot of attention. This specific area is gaining a lot of spike in attention for some strange particular reason. Now, before playing that one strange spike and how this video is doing really well, linking it in the description so you guys could see all of it. Before getting into all of that and a lot more, just really quickly, really shortly, we wanted to tell you about wearechange.shop. As of course, I just had my lunch. Right after my lunch, guess what? I took some of my essential fatty omega-3 oils, as of course ours come from small fish, not big fish. So of course, a lot of the big fish are kind of toxic out there and are really poisonous. As of course, Dr. Rhonda Patrick is a huge enthusiast of, quote, optimizing your omega-3 intake. As she says, this is the simplest way to extend your life, as a lot of people are having a hard time processing and utilizing vitamin B. And now there are new studies correlating if people can't process vitamin D, that usually is correlation with them having low omega-3 numbers. And there's the study highlights if people have good omega-3 numbers. Again, omega-6s are the seed oils. You kind of got to balance them out if they're not all balanced, because you're only getting seed oils, which most of us are in the modern consumer American diet, which is very hard to avoid. As she has highlighted how omega-3s can help with a 5-year lifespan increase.
Within this Framingham data, what was so interesting to me was that, Bill and his colleagues had they'd looked at the omega-3 index, and then they looked at smokers versus non-smokers. And this is where it, to me, is so clear, because...
Yeah, that's the wild stuff. I know a smoker in my life who's a family member. I'm like, bruh, omega-3s, here you go. Here you go. I'm just throwing it at him. I'm like, you better start taking these. And I'm like, and he's been taking them for like a year. I'm like, how do you feel? I was like, I feel a lot better when I take these omega-3s. What happens when you don't? I don't feel good. Oh, okay. Makes perfect sense here. As essential fatty fish oils, I really like them. I think you will too. And these are our #1 best seller on the store here, because people take them, they see a difference, and they start buying more. Our #1 bestseller used to be the creatine. It's on back order. It's going to be coming back next week. So pre-order those so they get to you before Christmas. Now, again, our store sells out fast. Now, this is my video from Epstein Island 6 years ago. The person who took me there, arrested, by the way, still hasn't had a hearing or trial, as the government, he thinks the government went after him because he was, helping a lot of alternative journalists, and he helped me get to this island.
We still don't know so many significant parts of this story, and the story is just erased from the mainstream media. No, the story can't be erased. The story can't be ignored, and it can't be ignored only if we start paying attention to it and start sharing.
That was the other facility that we found a lot of the horned weird furniture there.
The fact that this is still an open case, this is still a case that has a lot of serious implications, where we have royalty like Prince Andrew in the United Kingdom that are still running.
This is the dumpster that I was kind of going into, like, what the hell's going on here? I found the briefcase in there. I was trying to rip it apart. I did, and then there was nothing in there.
Free to do whatever horrible acts that they want to do. And again, the implications here, the allegations here are so severe. And it's just insane. I mean, even talking to that guy yesterday, he was like, yeah.
Even on top of this island is where we found the kind of door leading into the ground, like a cellar type door that we couldn't open.
The whole island knew. Everyone knew what was going on here. Like, if you know about these really sinister acts happening, like, holy cow.
And we should mention, too, that he told us, and we didn't get too into the specifics, but he said there's actually another island quite a lot like the Epstein Island. There's still things going on. So we're looking into that right now.
That's true. There's other islands outside of Epstein Island, right? And there's still a lot of top powerful billionaires that are being protected. A lot of powerful people that are known to have predilections towards small children. They're still out there, running around, running loose, no consequences, no issues at all. And now we're told, yeah, don't worry about it. You might get something in 2 weeks from now. As a lot of people are saying, this government lockdown was done in a way so they knew that they were going to lose it. When they did lose it, they knew that they were going to have 30 days to release it, and then they're going to release it before Christmas, hoping that people are too busy with Christmas, and then they'll get limited releases that now are being redacted. Redacted to the tune of over $1 million, as we've been told. It's being redacted earlier this year. They're like, it's being redacted for the safety of the victims. And then it's like, what files afterward? I'm like, what? As the only person really held accountable for this, somewhat, not really, he just lost his privileges, is, of course, Prince Andrew, who has to leave taxpayer-funded properties. And he's like, I want compensation. Give me monies for looking like one of the worst type of monsters out there who lies, says that he can't sweat, therefore he is innocent, which is absolutely crazy. As the Hodge twins write, breaking, we got scammed, y'all, as we have this report a couple days ago being reported, according to Kash Patel, that the FBI is working with the DOJ to determine which Epstein files can be legally released. Release all of them! Like, why? As a lot of people are like, what? Really? Really? And then he came out saying, well, it's the Epstein estate that's not letting us release these documents. I'm like, there's the financial records. Epstein moved over $1 billion. There's all the surveillance footage, all the surveillance records, right? These guys didn't even dare to investigate the properties in France, the properties in New Mexico. There's so many other properties. And these guys were like, oh, yeah, we're gonna make sure. What the hell does legally mean anyway? As now there are multiple reports that there's over $1 million spent on redacting these files with overtime and taking FBI agents off of important tasks to make sure that a lot of these high-profile people aren't held accountable. The FBI, and again, this is according to the Special Redaction Project that came out and said roughly $1 million in overtime hours to scrub, redact the Epstein files. Sorry, the project's called the Special Redaction Project. Huh.
Director Patel.
Now, we saw a lot of the situation that we're dealing with when Thomas Massie asked Kash Patel a bunch of questions about this.
I watched some of your Senate hearing yesterday when Senator Kennedy asked you, you've seen most of the files, who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these women to besides himself? You replied, according to the transcript, there is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else. You also said somewhere in the hearing and here today that the problem is that the case files are constrained by limited search warrants from 2006 to 2007, and that the non-prosecution agreement hamstrung future investigations. Those constraints only apply to the Southern District of Florida. They do not apply to the Southern District of New York, the location of the 2019 sex trafficking indictment, which...
Yeah, and the government, after coming out and saying, case closed, get out of here, and there was a huge backlash, said, okay, guys, we'll ask the courts to release the sealed grand jury stuff. everyone knew the courts weren't going to do it. They have other files they could release. And then the courts are like, we can't release it. And then the government's like, look, we can't release it, even though we're sitting on hundreds of thousands of files that are now being redacted. And in 2 weeks, right before Christmas, they're going to release them. And everyone's going to be too busy at Christmas, planning their gifts, planning their holidays, to even say or do anything about it.
Produced many things, including a series of FD 302 documents. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to, victims including minors such as Virginia Roberts Giuffre, may she rest in peace. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, the files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
You would think that, you know, you're the FBI. It's like, okay, we've got the list. Let's interview them. Let's come on, victims, sit down. Come on. Hey, you're being accused of some serious stuff. Can we hear your side of the story here? Especially right before these files come out. And then we could actually, you know, examine this. You're lying to us, you go to jail. But, like, we at least will allow you to have your side of the story told. If you want to tell your side of the story, what happened? Well, was there children? Did you see children? Did you see this person? Did you see that person? This person says this. Do you have an alibi? Can you confirm, deny? And listen, even for the benefit of the doubt, because, you know, a lot of people in the right-wing circles are like, these people are innocent. They did nothing wrong. I'm like, okay, prove it.
Sir, I have asked my FBI agents to review the entirety of the Epstein files and bring forth any credible information. And we're working with Congress not only to divulge that information and produce it to you, but any investigations that arise from any credible investigation will be brought. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to a probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of two different United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations who investigated those same materials in lifetime.
Are the 302 documents in the FBI's possession?
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
And so have you reviewed those 302 documents that where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here and in front of the Senate and say there are no names?
I said
I named one today.
I said we are not in the practice at the Department of Justice FBI of releasing victims' names.
Not victims. He's not asking about the victims.
That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have looked at the entirety of what we have.
Okay, I got to move on here. Were you present?
Yeah, that really doesn't highlight anything. As of course, Kash Patel is now being accused of having some of his employees threaten Thomas Massie with federal investigation, Thomas Massie's staff with federal investigation if they don't, quote, shape up and play ball. That's the accusation that Thomas Massie is making up against Kash Patel. Now, out of the 20 people named here, Massie knows who it is. 6 of them are billionaires. And Massie came out and then later talked about how there wasn't a single interview here because Kash said that he can't trust any people working for Thomas Massie, for him. There should be at least an investigation. People are demanding arrests here. We're probably not going to get it. MTG, that was the other fiercest fighter for disclosures here, by the way, forced out of Congress. Some people say she's quitting. I think it's a combination of things. As of course, she talks about the threats that she is getting. She's talking about how the system is beyond repair. She's throwing it in. She's giving up. I don't like the way she gave up, personally. She is a fighter, though. So, as Nick Fuentes came out saying, MTG was forced out by Congress, by Donald Trump, for criticizing Israel and voting to release the Epstein files. In other words, Trump destroyed his biggest loyalist for putting America first. This is why I didn't vote. MAGA, quote, is dead. Now, I believe that's a little bit more of a hyperbolic statement here. But we got to understand that's the sentiment of a lot of people who are becoming more doomed and blackpilled the longer powerful predators out there are not being held accountable for their actions, while, of course, the system is still continuing to protect them. I think that needs to change. If you agree, share this video. Thank you so much for supporting WeAreChange.shop, supporting our #1 selling supplement that people are going back from and buying. We're making sure to re-up again. Creatine coming back next week. Get it now. Pre-order it now. And get your orders in. It's some of the best stuff out there. Like straight from Germany. Other people get it from China. Don't trust that. Anyway, I love you guys. Stay tuned for more. All here exclusively on youtube.com/WeAreChange.